Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, the podcast where art, energy, and inspiration come alive. Hosted by award-winning intuitive painter Heather Eck, synesthetic artist, chakra expert, and spiritual guide, this show invites you to explore the transformative power of color, creativity, and spiritual healing. Heather's unique gift of seeing color through energy fuels her stunning spirit portraits and chakra-aligned artworks, designed to bring healing and alignment to your life. Whether you're curious about the magic of chakras, looking to unlock your creative potential, or eager to connect with your radiant spirit, you're in the right place. Your radiant spirit is calling. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I am so excited to share my guest today, Sabrina Norbert. She and I met through a wonderful program called BBD, which
Business
is
by Design.
Yes, Business by Design. And we instantly connected, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. Sabrina helps women who are actively seeking healing and growth break emotional patterns, transform their pain into power, and sow a new version of themselves unapologetically. Through simple yet meaningful sewing and quilting projects, she guides them to reconnect with their creativity and rewrite their story with confidence. Having walked through life's deepest valleys and highest peaks and experienced so many different industries, she's gone from suffering to serving without losing her enthusiasm. Now she's on a mission to help women fast track their healing so they don't have to spend years figuring it out alone. Sabrina, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to see your beautiful face and to connect with you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. It's a pleasure, and I'm honored to be here. Truly, I have been
Awesome.
preparing for this moment.
I love that. I love that. Tell me about your story. What led you to create Let's Cut the Scrap, which I love the name of that, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, if you remove the S from Let's Cut the Scrap, this is exactly why I created Let's Cut the Scrap. Because I am very honest, most of the time brutally honest. I don't say it in a harsh way, but I noticed that sometimes we need to be honest. And then I decided that we need to be honest all the time. And then during a very interesting time of my life, fabric scraps became my language. And now looking back, I can see it. I did not know at the time. And then I remember sewing. In fact, I was thinking of a pattern today that I was sewing at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. And if I turn this into Let's Cut the Scrap, because I'm so honest and I'm so transparent. And then it made sense to just say it out loud. And I think in a way, if you translate those emotions, because anger is part of life, pain is part of life, deception is part of life, depression is part of life. But if I can express that with scraps and put those scraps back together, I can say it, but in a different way. So that's why Let's Cut the Scrap. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, you did beautifully. You're making me think of a couple of different questions to go into. The first question that came up was, what was the hard truth that you had to communicate when you started sewing, when you started putting together these patterns that helped you heal emotionally?
I believe creativity has always been part of my life. I see things like, even when I was younger, I think I was always allowed to express that side of me. But then we go into dysfunctional families and everything. And it's one of the things that probably when it got to that point, okay, I'm trying to rephrase this. Hold on, because my mind is going everywhere now.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me go back here because it needs to start from the beginning. I think my father allowed me to play. He used to take me to work with him. And his work was my playground. And he was never like, oh, don't do this and don't do that. Even if I got hurt. Yeah, it's just, that's what kids do. This is the good aspect of my upbringing, right? So fast forward like 30, 40 years, I got to a point where some emotional difficulties and I was going through a very difficult time. And I'm like, okay, I need to do it differently. So what was beautiful is that I reconnected with that person. I reconnected with that little girl. Before the whole started, before you realize that life is tough, that dysfunctional family is a problem, that we normalize, that loss is a thing that we normalize because we need to be strong, especially women, depending on the women, right? I hear being judgmental, but some women are stronger than others, just like men are stronger than others, right? Just like situations are harder than others. And so I noticed that I needed to reconnect. In fact, now looking back, I understand that I needed to reconnect, but I think it was the version of me that was created that reconnected with the aspect of me. And then it was just telling me, you need to be creative again. Too much clutter, too much layers of disappointment along the way. And then I think now looking back, I see it was me and my future self telling me, no, creativity is the only way out. There's nothing else you
Wow.
can do. Makes sense. So it was not like I was healing or reinventing myself. I was reconnecting. That's why I say reclaim your power. I believe we forget that along the way. And my mind now is going, whoa.
Yeah.
I truly hope I am conveying this message in a way that is palatable. Because to get to that point, we need to train people to get to that point.
Yeah.
This is my understanding. In between, I had my grandmother, she used to crochet all the time. So this is one of the things. It is interesting because I have been thinking about people that I want to impress in a good way. And they used to sew. And I'm like, I'm going to sew too. I'm going to, I don't know, cross stitch. I'm going to do something because I was always drawn to creativity. But I did not know because, as I said, along the way, when you're still a kid and you're creative, it's okay. But when you get older, oh, come on, you're too old for this. You're too old for that. Why are you painting? Even in school, elementary school, kindergarten, I think some teachers, and please, then again, it's my only experience. I'm just explaining what happened to me. I think some teachers could use the creativity in kids in a different way. Instead of just saying, oh, this is a silly painting. It's never a silly painting. It's never a silly something if it's expressing something. Right. So those people also influenced me along the way. As I said, I wanted to be creative because they were creative. And because I truly believe that the fact that I wanted to connect with creativity had to do with that little girl saying, hey, I'm still here. Listen to me. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And now looking back and seeing the pain and the hurt and the things I've been through that were normalized. And then again, some of my family members might think that I am the dysfunctional one, and that's why I just cut them off. So what I sense is that wanting to connect with those people who were creative outside of my family, I was trying to find my own family through creativity.
Oh, wow.
This is how I see now. But when you are in the middle of the problem, you're just doing what you can. And I'm just reconnecting those dots and saying, oh, it has been me, Sabrina, the true Sabrina all along. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because I think about the process of sewing and stitching something together is bringing two pieces and physically connecting them through thread that helps
Yes.
them create something even bigger. So
Yes.
talk about how your work, and you do patterns, you do workshops, you do many different things to help people reconnect that fabric of themselves, right?
Yes. And it's interesting. When I first started, I started saying better single than sorry. It's interesting. And then I was like, but single than sorry, it feels like a little, I am like labeling. And then it turned into let's cut the scrap because at the end of the day, I just wanted to express myself. So what happened is that when I first started, I thought it was a little silly because it made sense to me. But yes, I believe that fragments of our lives, fragments, heartache, even happiness, we need, and just I'm not getting sidetracked here, but also happiness, we need to connect those pieces of happiness for the tough times. So I believe that, and then I remember this is the pattern that changed my life was a flying geese, which is an arrow. Let's put it that way. It's an arrow. And when I was feeling down, I was sewing flying geese facing up
Interesting. Okay.
because, and then I was like, okay, no, I'm going to rise above this, above all this. So piecing that, what happened to me when I was piecing those things? I could understand how my mind was thinking without even thinking about it. I'm going to give you an example. Too bad I don't have the pattern here, but I'm thinking, I remember having scraps of white fabric and then also scraps of red fabric. And you work with colors, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't realize how attached we are to small little things. We would save this and that, right? And all of a sudden you have
course.
lots.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I want to use this. I want to use what I have right now. I was not thinking about the color wheel in the sense that, oh, I want complementary, tertiary, quart, whatever. I wasn't thinking about that because when you're going through hard stuff, you need to count. Your brain needs to stop because it is on a 24/7 nonstop and you think you're relaxing, but you're not because you go to sleep and your brain's still thinking.
Yeah.
So I remember grabbing those pieces of fabric and putting them together and it felt good. It felt good. It felt good to just put those pieces together. Why was that? Because it's texture, different textures. You feel it. So I am exercising one of the senses. I don't think we exercise all the senses that much. We see, we hear, and then we taste things, right? But do we touch? Can you close your eyes and touch something and you reconnect with parts of yourself and you train different parts of your brain to kind of function in a way that is going to help you in a daily living. But anyways, going back here. And also when sewing, the machine tension, the noise, it was also making me feel certain things, especially when the machine gets jammed. And I even have a video talking about that because when the machine gets jammed, you can say very bad words. And you're like, what? It is the reaction like, oh my God, why are you getting stuck?
And it's frustrating.
It is frustrating. And then I started to, okay, why am I responding this way? Why? And then I was like, I cannot even ask why anymore. I had to ask what for. What is the reason? What is this happening? It's something that it's one layer deeper. And then it started to change my life. At the time, I was reading a book. And I think that book is fantastic. It's How to Dodge Energy Vampires. If you haven't read that book, I think that book is awesome. And at the time, it was interesting because I was having an interaction inside of my brain. It's amazing when you're silent, because believe it or not, I can be silent. I know some people go like, I don't believe in that, but I can be hours without talking and saying anything. But do that exercise. In fact, I was practicing that from another course that I took, like this silent time with yourself, the conversations that you have in your brain. Oh my gosh, it's like a board meeting. I'm not kidding.
It is like a board meeting. That is a great analogy. Oh my gosh.
You know, like a board meeting. And they are all claiming they are the chairman of the board. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. So what happened is that while I was reading that book, this noise, but anyways, while I was reading that book and going through the situation I was going through, and then I started to invest in sewing like crazy. I bought a sewing machine and I had those fabrics and I was like, my life is making sense. Oh my goodness gracious. Putting these pieces together is helping me connect those scattered dots within my mind. And it helped me to make more educated decisions. And I also noticed that sometimes making a decision is the best decision you can make. I'm going to say that again. Making a decision is the best decision you can make. You know why? Because there's no right or wrong. There's what you can do at that given time. It also gave me the ability to forgive myself for not being able to make that kind of decision back then, before the thunderstorm happened. Should have bought more food because now I'm running out of water. Okay, good. That was not the forecast, right? You did what you were supposed to do. You believe in the variables that you had at the time. Do not do that to yourself. Keep on sewing. That's why I say, let's cut the scrap and sew on. Let's cut the scrap and quilt on. Let's cut the scrap and be happy. Because sometimes it's just forgiving ourselves and being, as one of my coaches says, be kind to your future self. And then in sewing, that what happened. That's exactly why I decided to. In fact, I did not decide, Heather. It just keep on telling me, poking me, saying, hey, you have to do it. Because if you don't do it, you're not fulfilling your mission. Because I truly believe, and then again, we go back to the beginning of everything. I firmly believe we're here on a mission. It's not about us at all. It's not. You came here to fulfill something. whether you want to believe it now or later. And then again, those are the people I want to help. I say, hey, listen, and if we shorten the gap between you realizing that you're here on a mission and start acting on your mission. And that's why I was
Yes.
like, I want to be in this podcast because this is what I am doing for myself. Because I still have fears. Oh
Yeah,
my
we all
goodness
do.
gracious. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And
I
now
think,
this, go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was talking to someone earlier today. We were talking about the more work that you do on yourself, the more you uncover, the more you heal, the more comes up that needs to be worked
Yes.
on too. So even though you may have done a ton of work, there's still fears, there's still worries, there's still these things that come up that challenge you and force you to move further along in your healing journey, in your
Yeah.
reclaiming journey.
It is the human experience. And if, as you said, the more you heal, the more you heal. You know why? Because those are layers. They were imposed. And even if you come, I have a friend, and it's interesting that his family is awesome. And I remember when he was younger, and so, oh my gosh, I still feel I have problems. And I was like, yeah, because of course, at that time, 30 years ago, somebody telling me that, I would have a different answer. But I remember telling him, because we all have problems. And also, I advocate for those who are having a good time in life and they are suffering, because I am just, and I'm going to say this because let's get the scrap here, right? I am sick and tired of people saying, oh, you're so lucky. I say that to people. Are you jealous? Because the way you're saying, you should be like, wow, I'm so happy you're that lucky. You see what I'm saying? We need to change that energy.
Yeah.
And one thing also, one of the things about me is that I love to serve. I have always loved to serve. I just didn't know. As I said, I wasn't aware
Mm.
because it was just me trying to find out what I needed to do in life. I volunteered a lot in my life. And there was a time I was a homeless shelter coordinator and I used to work with homeless and all that stuff. And it was interesting that some people like, oh yeah, but these people need help. What about the CEO of the company? What about Heather that she's doing well? She doesn't need any help? Oh, what
Yeah.
about me? Just because I have a roof over my head, I should be what? Punishing myself because some people are homeless, right? I remember one gentleman, he might no longer be with us because he was already old at the time. And we had a program, Homeward Bound. And that was the thing. You need to follow, there are some steps you need to follow. There are the requirements for the program. If you fail, you're out. Some people say it's cruel. Let me tell you, my friend, if you're listening to us here, life isn't fair and that's okay. Life can be cruel and that's okay. It's just that sometimes rules, right, of the game, they are not there to punish you. They're just there to guide you. So you benefit more. And then that's the point. Failing to follow those rules does not mean that you're a failure. It only means you're in the process of learning how to do that. Anyway, so we go back here. As you said, to summarize like my thinking right now, it's about reconnecting. Healing is reconnecting with who you truly are. It's not transforming or reinventing. When I use the term reinventing yourself through quilting and sewing, it's not because you need to create a different person. Right? You just have to reconnect with yourself and become the person you need to be, because that's why you're here. That's why we're
Right.
here. Heather, this is not random. We're not here. It's not random, right? And,
I fully believe that.
and we bump into people in life, and sometimes you miss the traffic light, and some people don't.
We intersect or
Don't. And sometimes we're very close. We can intersect, but we don't. There's something beyond us. I believe in something that is beyond us. I want to
yeah.
believe that because if
Hmm.
I'm wrong, I'm still winning.
I love that. No, I do too. I fully believe that God or the universe or whatever it is that you want to say, for me, it's God, that has put us here for a purpose and we have a mission to fulfill. And I don't think that we always fulfill that mission through the job that we currently have. And I think sometimes we feel shackled to this place where we are miserable, right? We're sitting in that space, we are stressed to the max. We've lost our creative angle and we are looking for something. And I think, like me with my artwork, like you with your quilting, we're all looking for something that's going to make us feel more like ourselves, whether that self was your younger self, whether that self was just somebody you haven't even met yet. But the very act of creating, of exploring creativity in whatever facet that feels good to you, I think helps restore you to your ability to find purpose. It helps
Yes.
restore you to this place where you love yourself enough that you can say, you know what? I'm not really happy doing this. I want to find something else. I need to do something different that's going to make me feel more fulfilled. So I can reach my hand out to you and say, hey, come over here and do this class with me. Come rest your brain for an hour and let's relax into what life can be like.
Yes, as you said, creativity is everything. Martha Beck says that the opposite of anxiety is
Oh, I
creativity.
love
The
her.
opposite of,
Yeah.
yeah, she's great. And also today, there's this guy I follow on Instagram. Of course, I won't have it here, right? Me, because now my brain's thinking. And he was just saying that the frequency, give me 1 second because I
Yeah.
will try to find it. It was today. I was like, oh my God. It was like, it's like Google, Instagram listening to my thoughts because
Probably.
you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
There's times where I'm like, how did this know?
so I'm glad that I attract this kind of stuff. But so he said, it was so beautiful. He says that, oh, where is that? Come on. Oh, here. I love it. The energy of abundance vibrates at the same frequency as self love. I'm going to say that again. The energy, and this is the alchemy. His name is Philip Andrew. I like him so much. The energy of abundance vibrates at the same frequency as self love.
Wow.
Yeah. I am 100% sure. There are some things in life that I'm 100% sure. Sabrina, there are no absolutes. That is not an absolute, right? But we're going to die. Oh, Sabrina, let's not talk about this stuff. We need to talk about that. Especially if you have a family. We need to talk about that. This cannot be unexpected. It's the only certainty we have. Second certainty, I think, is change. Whether or not it's going to change. And one thing that I believe is that, and I lost track of time. My train of thought went someplace else. And I believe that self love is the only way we can make this a little different. We can make this journey through life in a different way. This is the reason why I wanted to connect the dots because we will talk about creativity.
Self-love and creativity, abundance and self-love.
I love, you see, this is what happens when you're being creative, right?
You ping pong.
The brain starts to use those neural synapses, right? It starts to work. So why not doing this on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Okay? This is creativity. And you're with painting and your art is, I love your art.
Thank you.
With me, it's quilting and sewing. But honestly, I say mainly quilting and sewing because it could be doodling. It could be having a conversation.
It could be dancing, a cake,
twisting a recipe, and also figuring out a different solution to a problem. Creativity is in everything we do.
It is.
Right?
Even since the very beginning of time.
In everything. We didn't change. It's just our bodies that is changing. So I believe that in understanding this concept and the aspect of life, and then we want to be creative all the time. We should, at least. And I'm still not figuring out. But anyway, self-love. So I believe also that art and creativity will bring us back to self-love. We live in a society, and I'm not condemning society because I love living, and this is what we do. But I believe that we, especially women, self-love, it feels selfish, egotistical, right? Especially in the quilting world, and some quilters, I'm just going to unfollow me right now. That's fine. That's okay. It's fine. You can do whatever you want.
We all do our own thing, right?
Yeah, it's fine. You know, if people want to unfollow me, that's okay. Want to criticize me. But I need to say this because people need to hear it. Quilters, most of the time when I am having those conversations, when I want to understand a little bit more, it's always, oh no, I don't have time to quilt like this. But then they'd give me a list of people that they're quilting for. Oh, I had to quilt this for my daughter. I had to quilt this for my grandson. Oh no, there's another graduation. What about you? Have you ever made a quilt for yourself? And they're like, I don't have time for this. And I'm thinking to myself, you kidding me? Why is that? Oh, because I cannot say no to, I don't know, my daughter, my son, my grandkids, my husband, my mom, my dad. I don't know, the universe. You know what I'm saying? I need to do this. And I'm like, no, you need to take care of yourself. You
I think
need to
that's,
do
yeah,
that.
that is
Oh,
such a valid point. Like
you
giving
know,
yourself play,
you
even,
must. You can say I'm wrong. I need to give you a hug. Okay. We need to part ways because that's the truth. If the concept of self-love has been twisted and turned by those who are not healing, and then you're still in that loop. So I believe that art in your case is drawing and doing the beautiful thing that you do with understanding the aura and everything. With me, sewing and quilting or just having a conversation, because we need to address those issues. And I want to find, no, I am doing what I'm doing because I want to attract, I remember now I was saying that. I want to attract those people who are looking for depth. Because on a surface level, we cannot function in the way that we could live our lives to the fullest. Then again, depth is very relative. Because when somebody says, and one thing that I learned the hard way, when somebody tells me I'm deep, I want to understand their concept of depth. Because you can have the swimming pool. When you go to the swimming pool, you have the kids' swimming pool. That's deep for the kid. Is it deep for us?
no.
I want to go Olympic stuff, my friend. You know, those that you jump, like the dive?
Yeah.
I
The
want to go
12
deep,
foot.
like
Yeah.
diving. You know what I'm saying? So this is also one thing that I like talking about is, okay, the perspective we need to align. Then we go back here to what I was saying. When we understand that, and then we start with, thank you so much. I knew it would come back. We start chasing and we start attracting. Because I've met so many people that they work their ass off and they're still there. It feels like they ran on a treadmill their whole entire lives. And some other people, let's be honest. I mean, we're all God's creature, but that some people are like, how can you make that happen? That's the difference. There's one thing people talk about, and one of the reasons, I think the main reason for let's cut the scrap is narcissism. And I don't want to dig in on that because it's not my expertise. I know how to navigate and identify because I was trained to identify. When you live with so many narcissists, you develop two things: learning how to identify them, but also learning how to be a codependent. So, how do we draw the line? I don't want to be a codependent anymore. I just want to identify. So, I'm like, okay, how do I identify these things? Understanding who you are and what you want in life. And then you start not attracting these people.
Right.
Sewing and quilting is exactly that. When you're patching those pieces, when you're putting those pieces together, and when you're sewing, and when you think about the tension, when you're thinking about constructing or deconstructing, and then when you're painting, maybe you pick green, but I'm like, oh no, green is not good anymore. And then you're on blue now. You can put blue on top, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How can
Yeah.
we adapt and adjust? This is the beauty of quilting and art in general, that we train that muscle. And I say it's an emotional muscle that we need to train in order to survive these things. I believe that's, in fact, what is going, and this is what I'm saying because I am not as famous as one day I'm going to be. Now, when I say this, you're going to actually think, no, I'm serious. I think people are talking about this is going to be the difference between us and AI and how we express our emotions. That's it. I love AI. I think we should use AI because it is here to help us, especially people who are going through a lot. Can you imagine to have a 24/7 assistant to make you not go nuts sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And help you put those thoughts together. But now, if you have the tools, if you know how to exercise your emotions, if you know how to to understand yourself, love yourself in a way that it doesn't feel selfish, that it feels unapologetically fantastic. The moment you know how to say more no's than yeses, and also yeses to what? Invitations. Situations like this, Heather, when you invite him, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do it. So, yes,
Yeah.
more yeses to this kind of stuff, more yeses to joy, to play, to, I don't know, if it's raining, why not? Let's bathe in the rain. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a rain kind of a whatever.
Yeah.
Or having a conversation or just having a cup of coffee with yourself. I believe life becomes, we don't change the circumstances. People will be people. but we change ourselves. And yes, there's a warning for that. And that's what I tell everybody. Yes, it might be that probably you're going to get divorced. Perhaps you're not supposed to be married to start with because that version of you was not your true version. Maybe, I'm not saying that there are no absolutes, but yeah, maybe that will happen. Maybe you're going to cut some people from your family. Maybe you will get married to someone, maybe you will find someone. Maybe you won't find anything. Maybe you will change your priorities, or maybe they will stay the same. The beauty is change is inevitable, but how we navigate change can be a pleasant thing, even when hard times are like just present. You change the perspective and you shift everything because, and then you have that moment with yourself. And then think about it. We believe in God, right? We agree with that. And so we believe that we are beautifully designed. So when you're creating something, I think God smiles. I feel like crying when I say that. I think it's just, she got it. My goodness gracious, she freaking got it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you can feel it at peace in the most difficult situations. Yeah, anyways. Yeah.
I love that. So how can people work with you? Tell us about your programs and what you do.
Yes. So I am very excited about a membership that I'm creating. And in fact, I had a conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have this membership that is coming. And here I am. I don't know when we're going to launch this podcast.
We will probably do June, middle of June, end of June.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So by then, I hope to launch it on May 1st. So it's going to be already. Yeah.
Okay,
launched.
great.
So I have launched a membership program because I was just thinking, how can I help the most amount of people to access self-love, to access clarity, to make decisions based on facts, not like scattered emotions that are not in the right place most of the time when you have to make a tough decision. So I decided to create this membership, and it's beautiful. We meet twice a month. It's one workshop and then also a Q&A where we talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about. Yes, we talk about emotions, anger, pain, deception, depression. We don't focus on that. We just name it so we can look at it from a different perspective. And what happens when we sew the pattern? It's easy, simple patterns, because I was thinking of having quilters and people in the sewing world, but I'm like, what about those people who are really wanting to find a solution to their problem? And the problem is disconnecting from themselves. They're completely, totally disconnected from themselves. So I created this membership where we're going to get together. And I also, should I be talking about my program like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I also want to give, because I believe in things like auto-suggestion. I don't believe necessarily in positivity, because if you're positive and you're just repeating and repeating, nothing's going to happen. And then you wonder. But I believe in auto-suggestions. I believe that we need to train our brains to think differently. It's amazing how we are more comfortable with a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven. So with auto-suggestions, we are able to train our brains in a different way. So that's the idea also, to send my beloved, like the beloved members of this membership, in like daily prompts, so they can wake up in the morning, or they can assess that small little sentence that can change everything. It's like a small little hug, a small little virtual hug, and saying, hey, I'm here. I want to be also present. And I wanted to make this opportunity accessible. In fact, inspired by you, Heather, accessible. And then I have been talking to some other people like, no, Sabrina, the amount of you you're giving, you cannot survive like that. Heather, I want to believe God will provide, because I feel that this is a space for people to heal. Yeah. And yes, it will, the price is going to go up, because there's no way I can manage everything. But I also think that people need to be committed. And if you don't invest in yourself, I don't think you belong to the group. And I also plan to have, as they call this, sliding scale, something like that, for those who really want to participate and they can't. Because I've been there. I cannot afford this course right now, but I really would like to participate because I value it. But one thing also that I am including And I know that people say, oh, you should have only one thing. Honestly, that's not me. And I'm not listening to people anymore. I'm listening to my inner voice. You know what I'm saying? One thing is that I've been through so many things in my life. And one of the major things that happened to me was losing my husband. I lost my best friend. He was a very important person in my life. And I know some people don't have the support system to go through that, especially when you were young. I was like 29 years old. So I want to be there for these people. So I came up with this program. It's like a 4-week program that I will be able to spend 1 hour per week with these people. So we can even more. I say 1 hour, but I can go a little bit more than that. This is a spoiler, right? I shouldn't be saying that. But it's 1 hour. It's a 1 hour per week with a little bit like also one thing that I want to make sure is that enough of these amount of recordings and workbooks and this and that. Because when you are overwhelmed, that's please just hold my hand. I cannot answer this question right now. I don't even have the answer. What's your name? I don't know. Where do you live? I forgot. You don't know the difference between one thing and another. So I want to make sure that I am helping these women go through that, especially younger women when they lose someone or if they're not married for 20 plus years and if they don't have kids. I heard that. I did hear that. People say, oh, you were not married for a long time. Oh, it's okay. You're still young. And you're looking like, oh, really? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. And these people mean well. But at the time, I didn't feel any resentment, but you're like, freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
But you want to be compassionate. And then I realized that we need to meet people where they are at. This goes for us too. So I'm like, okay, how can I be compassionate to these people and say, okay, they are doing the best they can, but I don't need to say, oh, thank you for that. How can I navigate that? So some people need that help. Some people need to have someone who have gone through that. And the beauty of it, and I have to say, the beauty of me, I feel like Snoop Dogg now. Thank me for the beauty of it is that I navigated not only, oh my gosh, losing my best friend, becoming a widow, but also divorce. I've been divorced too. And this is another story. But I've been through so many different things and my experience of my family's dysfunction and understanding. I also come from a different country. So I lived in different countries. So I understand this cross-cultural aspect. And nowadays it's so present. You have people marrying from different groups. And so it's beautiful that I can bring that. I am in the business. I think I'm the holistic thing, right? Because I've experienced so many different areas. I've graduated in the business administration, but then I went to banking, business aviation. I worked for the Olympics, oil and gas, and then art has been the connection between all of this. I worked with wine. And so those are because I am multi-passionate. I am. And I took those leaps of faith along the way to connect with my creativity. So when I am talking to someone, my perception, this is my understanding because I know people feedback and friends and everything. I have a God-given ability. It's not me, but because I'm very observant, I notice that I can help people in levels that other people can't. Then again, if they are my people and if I am their people, you know what I'm saying? If we exchange that, if we're aligned, and this is my mission. Because going back to death, my programs are thinking, this is the human experience I'm given. I must fulfill my mission. So yes, I want to help these people who have gone through loss. I want to help people who had to endure narcissistic environments. And then they became codependent, not because they're codependent, they're strong women, but it's so familiar. Their tolerance to pain. That's also one thing that I talk about during the program is that the tolerance to pain needs to be small. Our thresholds are too, it's like freaking gate.
Yeah, that's
you
so
can't.
True.
So if you're so tolerant to pain, let me tell you, my friend, you're the one suffering. The thing is, are you tolerant to pain for others or for yourself? Because you need to say, no, I'm not. This is a non-negotiable. I'm not going to hurt myself anymore. And also to own our grief, to own our sorrow, And a friend of mine once told me, Sabrina, those are God-given feelings. It's how we do, it's how we manage those feelings and those emotions. So I believe I would resume everything in saying my programs are focusing on emotional fitness through creativity.
There you go. Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me years because I started the concept of Let's Cut the Scrap started like almost 9 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I know. In fact, it's interesting that my first blog, it was early 2000s. I had a blog and I felt, oh no, I don't want, how am I going to do? You have to share this with the world? No, I want people to find me. But if you don't, and I'm still, this is like early 2000s. It was when I became, when Alan passed. But then it was interesting because you see how long it took me to get to this, Heather? I don't want these women to go through what I've been through.
Yeah.
It took me so long to figure some things out because I did not have the support. I did not have people like me helping me become me.
Yeah.
Lots of noise, lots of interference, and dealing with others people's demons, to call it something like that. So this is what I value the most with the program. The Let's Cut the Scrap program membership is going to be something entry level that people can come and just feel safe. If they want to be on camera, they can be on camera. If they don't want to say anything, they don't need to say anything. If they want to be silent, it's just a place that we can bring our creativity and be silly and be proud of it. And we can talk about stuff that I'm angry. Maybe I do want a divorce. Maybe I do want to change my job. I'm unhappy. And why not? And no. And nowadays, especially family members, right? Are you crazy? And if I am, and if I want to, and if I also want to do something good for me and for my family or something, I don't know. We can talk about anything. Respect, of course, respecting each other and understanding that sometimes, depending on what you say, and I can say what I want to say because I want to help you. I'm not here to, then again, the membership. Am I going too much, Heather? You tell me.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
Just want to make
We're
sure.
going to wrap up in just a minute, though.
Yeah. So the important aspect of the membership is that, yes, it will trigger you. So if you don't want to be triggered, don't join the membership program. Here, you're here to be triggered because we need to identify those triggers. So this is the idea of this. And yes, I'm not going to have lots of recordings. We're going to have enough recordings because I don't want to overwhelm anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm here to take the load. And honestly, I've been to so many different programs that you just go inside and then that's it. Crickets, right? You don't hear from the person anymore. I understand that I cannot make people drink water, even if I take them to the river or the stream, whatever. I can teach people to fish, but I cannot make them fish.
Right.
The only promise is that I will show you, I will push your buttons. I will pull those triggers because I want you to be triggered.
Yeah.
Because
that's how you find the wound.
Exactly.
And that's how you heal it.
Exactly. And it's beautiful because I heard the other day someone saying, when we come from the wound, it's still open. But when we come from scars, we don't say it with the same emotional depth.
It hits you the same way.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to be a little bit about everything that people talk about and how can you diagnose one condition without paying attention to the rest, right? Because if we are, let's say, people now are labeling ADH something, I don't know, like those acronyms that I'm like, I don't want to label anybody. We are here to take everything and discuss. Then again, creativity in everything. So yes, this is what I'm doing. So I have the membership program, which is going to be monthly, unless things change, then we turn into something different. And I have a program specific for people caregivers, widows, divorcees, even people going through annulments. Oh my God, that's another story. People going through annulment because there's nothing worse than instead of getting a divorce, the husband says, oh, I think we should get an annulment.
Oh boy. Yeah.
You don't even have the option when marital status, when you're annulled, it's technically a divorce. But if somebody says, I want an annulment, you kidding me? Anyways, so those are the things. Also taking care of your parents, because I've been through everything. Trust me. And this is the beauty of it. It cannot be random, Heather. So that's why I have these programs. Are going to be 4 weeks. and we can have a group. But if somebody wants to hire me individually, yes, I'm here for them. So then again, I said 1 hour per week. And yes, this is only the beginning. Also, one thing that we're going to have on the website, if you want to just have individual classes for sewing and quilting, specific classes, and this is the idea too. Yes, we're going to have in a vault all those classes as they happen. But the core thing is like, how can we use creativity to help us become emotionally fit? Not to fit anybody else, but to feel strong, muscular emotionally, right? And lean emotionally. So we can withstand with a little bit more grace anything that happens to us.
I love that. I love emotionally fit through creativity. I think that's beautiful. So tell us where people can find you and connect with you.
Yes, you can find me at my website that hopefully is going to be ready by the time we have this. So it's going to be www.letscutthescrap.com. I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that I love so much. Yes, what we talk about and so many different things. I'm also on Instagram if you want to find me on Instagram.
Awesome.
And yes, and hopefully by the time this is also ready, I'm gonna be on. I am on Facebook, but not in the same way that you guys are going to be.
Okay, awesome. I'll put all this information in the show notes. This has been such a fantastic conversation. I feel like I didn't know the depth through which your quilting and sewing takes people and the way that you connect emotional, like well-being
Yes,
to creativity. But that makes total sense because that's what I do, and that's probably why we connected too,
yeah, it is.
why we care for each other. I love that. Thank you so much
You're
for being here
welcome.
today and for sharing your wisdom and your stories. And I will drop all of the information in the show notes for where people can find you.
Yes, and I just want to say to all of you who are listening to us, look, you are worthy. You are worthy. And please, if from everything we talked about, if there's one thing that you remember, to repeat, I am worthy every day of your life. I am worthy. We forget that all the time, especially us women. So please, that's the only thing that I wish you is abundance. And I hope and I wish you alignment. Stop chasing, start attracting, and let's do this together.
Thank you for joining us on Your Radiant Spirit. If today